Season 4 is going into space. We've already talked about that.
Yeah.
And I'll be gone. I'll be gone at that
Shatner
point.
can do it. Why can't we?
Yeah. We'll have like AI versions of ourselves playing that one.
Hi, this is Michael R. from Den of Geek, and I'm here at San Diego Comic-Con 2025 with the cast and showrunners of Revival on Syfy. Welcome, everyone. One thing I really appreciate about this show is that there's no insulting of the audience. I like how you dropped in clues in season 1 all along the way. We saw a woman in a scarf before we actually met her. We saw a USB stick being delivered before there was a payoff. Talk a little bit about how you approached the mystery element of your series.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big part of it. You know, I think I'm a big believer in like setup and payoff, right? And just when we talked about this, it was always, we just wanted to make a show that we liked, Luke and I in particular, you know, and I like things that aren't spoon-fed. I like things that make me lean forward and ask questions and try to figure it out. I'm one of those people that I remember every episode of Lost, talking with my friends, guessing horribly wrong every time what was happening, and just hoping that some people could guess horribly wrong at our show was a lot of fun. But at the same time, trying to find a way to set up and pay off, you know, answer some questions with more questions sometimes too.
And in fact, even the red herrings, I want to say, such as McRae and Louise was her name, the one that was being poisoned by mercury or something like that.
Arlene.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I got the name wrong. But all those different storylines along the way. Were you purposely going for a reaction there, where it's like where we thought we had it figured out, or the town thought that it was the traditional zombies?
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about, as we were developing it, how we would structure every episode to lead the audience down a certain path, you know, and we talked a lot about different murder mysteries that we loved and tried to, you know, fashion this after that. So we wanted there to be, you know, the audience to think there's a suspect, who the suspect was at the end of every episode, and then the next episode we're going to dispel that and move on to someone else. So it was all, you know, putting these breadcrumbs out there and to help, you know, and that's just kind of what we love. So
now, Melanie, such an exciting episode. Was it just last night? It seems like already ages and we're building up to the finale. But part of that realism that we were just talking about includes when you take a bullet, you have some recovery time involved. So talk about how you had to overcome, especially since you still kind of fought like a superhero though in those scenes.
Kind of. I don't know if you've ever been on Pterodactyl and tried to fight with a bedpan and a TV. Pretty fun. But I do think that was a real challenge to be bedridden and have all this dialogue that was really like high stakes and have to do it like, you know, in a bed. Like it was a really challenging episode, but it was a really fun challenge. But I love that she still fought through it. And I think in the, you know, there's that legend of like a woman lifting up a car to get off her kid. And I feel like that was Dana in that moment. So it was really fun to be able to play with that in there.
And no small feat getting your dad to believe what was going on and cooperate with you there. That was also a challenge. Romy, you had some action sequences that were really kind of, I hope, a foreshadowing of things to come perhaps in season 2. How much of the action sequences did you do yourself? And, you know, did you feel like a superhero yourself in those moments?
Anytime I put on that hoodie, I feel like a superhero, to be honest. It doesn't even need to be action. When I put that on, M comes out. But I had a wonderful, wonderful stunt double, Chanel Hunter, who did a very good amount of that sequence, and she is wonderful and taught me so much about myself and what I'm capable of. And luckily, our stunt coordinator, Max, was also there, who helped a lot, Max White. But with CM Punk or Phil Brooks, I got to do a good portion of that one because, you know, he's like, you're not going to hurt me. And trust me, I'm really good at my job. I'm not going to hurt you. So I think we could do something special. And we did. And that was really, really great. Like working with a real WWE wrestler who's also teaching me along with the stunts. I definitely felt like a superhero. But we also became friends. So seeing him like that, sad.
And you're right, the hoodie is a great look and everything. And I have to say, the wig was completely believable. But as soon as you took it off, I'm like, oh, yeah, of course. This is what she looks like. Okay, well, David, such a great character. You must have really been pleased when you saw these scripts, because here's an unlikable character that's sympathetic, and that's hard to carry off. Talk about how towards the end, especially as we're getting closer to the finale, we're seeing a softer side.
Yeah, he's a very human character. It is one of the things, you talked about audiences that you don't like to spoon feed an audience. And that's how I look at it in the beginning as an audience member. It's one of the things that struck me with their scripts, and certainly and carried on through all 10 episodes, was they don't rely on exposition to tell the story. They find clever ways and honest ways to deliver the information. And we just get, and they were so available to us that, their office was usually, we were at the studio and their office was right there, and I was in and out all the time, as were a lot of these guys. And so I was able to go in and continue to ask questions. And as Aaron said in the question and answer thing we did earlier today, I spent a lot of time peeling through stuff and looking for, how to expand on that character, how to find the truth. And when he told me about some of the stuff that we find out about Wayne that I found was incredibly distasteful, I went, are you trying to assassinate my character? Come on, man. He goes, no, you're going to say that's actually happening. I'm going, oh my God, how am I going to find my way out of that without appearing as just a totally horrible person? So
that's the fun, though.
Yeah, that is the fun of it. Yeah. And I think I navigated it eventually, but it was a challenge, but the scripts were just so good. These guys are so talented, and these three maniacs, and they are maniacs. They were all very talented, and Romy, she'll do anything, right? We're all method actors until it's time to get wet, and she was the first one to dive into a frozen river, without a second hesitation. So,
well, I'll tell you that the scenes when you're talking about how your daughters hate you, gut-wrenching, and you think, I'm like, why do I feel about this way about this character? So really great. Andy, I have to say, this is one of the only shows where I've seen a will they or won't they plot line start in a car where what was that scene like? Because you must have had some hard time keeping a straight face, I would think.
This is awkward. It was awkward to do it, but also, it's your scene partner, and Mel and I came together, and again, both professionals, and had a fun time doing the scene. But of course, it's always going to be awkward doing these things, and it works in this case, and it worked out really well. That we had to shoot that scene, and him with the big coat, and that was all weird in the car, and the bits at the end where we sort of try to play around with what we were going to do, how he gets out of the car, all of that stuff was a lot of fun to sort of find the sort of chemistry and the will they, won't they between these two characters. And I like that sort of dynamic between the two of them. I really think that that's sort of indicative of how they continue along on this sort of journey together. We're coming up on the finale, so we've just revealed a big part of what this season is about. I don't want to say too much for those who haven't seen it yet, but we've got this central plot line that's being revealed. The stranger in the woods isn't who we thought he was, things like that. Is that something that's going to be planned for each season, where almost like an underlying storyline that's in the background besides what's going on with Romy's character as well?
Yeah, that's definitely. Luke and I have a 3-season plan here, that kind of plays into that. Season 4 is going into space. We've already talked about that. Yeah. And I'll be gone. I'll be gone at that point.
Shatner can do it. Why can't we?
Yeah. We'll have AI versions of ourselves playing that one. But I think it's fun. We like to juggle as many balls in the air as we can, and then find ways to have those balls hit each other, and then another juggle. I don't know if this is making sense, this analogy, but the idea that they start to combine and form new things. And you don't realize that scenes that might have seemed innocuous in the early episodes actually have very high level poignancy later into the story. And I think that's a fun thing to play with, where it's oh, this is a throwaway scene. I see what they're doing. This is just fun. But then you realize, actually, no, that scene has a lot of meaning, and there's something that we're actually saying that you haven't even realized until you rewatch it and peel back those layers. It was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, rewatchability is a huge thing for us when we were building this, because we like those shows, and we want the audience to be able to enjoy the show in multiple ways. So we wanted to build that into it for sure, and then just just let everything be high octane and come at you pretty quickly, so that you can then go back and kind of recontextualize stuff.
Yeah, I like going back and seeing things that Brent said that gave him away along the way. Congratulations on a great, great opening season. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nobody claps. That's so nice.
Yeah.